I want to talk to you guys about the harsh truths of outgrowing your friends. All right, there's a path that you're going to go down as a man in his self-development journey that inevitably will cause separation from your friend groups. I'm 34 years old. I've had a lot of different friend groups over the years, starting out when I was like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. I've jumped through best friend to best friend to best friend. I made a lot of mistakes through that process. And I've also made a massive transformation in myself. I used to be an antisocial video game nerd, virgin, loser in my teenage years and then into my 20s. I've built a 7-figure business. I've moved out of my hometown. I've amassed a following of over 1 million people on social media platforms. And so I understand what it's like to have different identities intertwined to friendships and the process of outgrowing your friends. So I want to talk about those harsh realities, those unspoken truths. And at the end of the video, I'll also present you guys a different perception on this, a different perspective that you can look at to actually allow you and your old friends to still stay in touch. You don't need to burn these bridges. You can outgrow your friends but still stay friends if you do things properly. So let's get into it. Now, the first thing you might be experiencing right now is if you have friends and you start to work on your own self-development journey, what's going to happen initially is there's going to be some type of like tension that starts to get created. There might be some type of separation that starts to get created. It's not always confrontational. Sometimes it can be right in your face, a confrontation. Other times, if you have very passive, aggressive friends, it'll be on a more subtle note. But one thing is going to happen is that there will be separation that starts to get created one way or another. And it's typically because you start to level up. All right, and this is the first point right here, is that not everybody is going to make the same decisions, be on the same path, have the same pleasures or purpose as you while you're leveling up as a dude. So you might have some similarities with certain friends. Like I had friends that were really big into going to the gym with me. I had other friends that were my wings that would go out with me on the weekends and try to like do cold approach and interact with women with me. Then I had other friends that were more just like business orientated. And then I had friends that I grew up with that weren't aligned with any of these things, right? So I had different categories of where I would compartmentalize friends, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think dudes think that you need to just have this one best friend, and he's just your ride or die best friend, and like it's just you and him versus the world, and if you go hang out with somebody else or you do something different, then you're betraying your friend, and that is not the reality. It does not need to be all or nothing with your friend groups. And this was a mistake I made growing up, was I would just go all in on one dude and it would be nonstop with him with everything until I started to get pissed off with that person, and then I would move on to the next person. And I would like jump from best friend to best friend over the course of months or years. And obviously I got a lot of close with a lot of different people through that process. But as I got older and I started to level up, I soon realized that, hey, everybody's going to have their own interests, and it's okay to just have a couple shared interests with an individual. You can be friends and just be into health and fitness together. He doesn't need to do that and like the same video games and like the same sports and go out and do this thing. It's okay to just have friends that you go to the gym with. And you can also mix and match, but it's not just all or nothing with any of these friend groups, right? So what I realized is that, hey, you're going to be leveling up. Not everybody's interests are going to align, and that's okay. So once you start to see the separation going on, you don't necessarily need to declare, hey, dude, like we're no longer best friends because I'm doing this thing and you have a different view on this. You can just accept, hey, we have some mutual interests. We've had some amazing experiences, but I am going to start prioritizing this other area of my life that I see a lot of potential value and growth in. And so I want to start doing this more. You're going to this college. You're doing this job. You're doing this thing differently, and that's okay. We can still stay in touch and hang out from time to time, but I'm going to be going this way. All right, so don't think it's all or nothing with this path that you're going down, because honestly, I'm going to get into this in the last point too, is that like you can actually still remain in close relationships with your old friends as you continue to level up, and I'll explain how to do that in a little bit. But very first thing to understand is you're going to start leveling up. It's okay to have separation. One thing I will say about this though, people may start to talk shit behind your back. They may not actually want to see you do better than they are. You leveling up and them not making the same improvements may cause jealousy, envy. It might hurt their ego. They like you for the initial identity that you had with them because it made them feel good about themselves. Right? This is a harsh reality about relationships in general. People don't like you for you. They like you for how you make them feel when you're around them, right? And that's a very harsh reality to understand for a lot of people. So as you start to level up, it's going to make them question the route that they're on. It's going to make them question, what am I doing? Is he actually better than me? This is making me have to shine a mirror back on myself. Most of these friends don't genuinely want to see you do better than them, honestly. Okay? And that's part of the reason that the friendships will end as you start to level up, because when you guys come together, there's a mutually beneficial relationship. As you start to level up and go down this one path, unless he's on his own path and he's truly secure and confident in himself as well, it's going to be very unlikely that both of you guys are going to be fully happy for each other in a non-competitive way, fully supportive of each other, and there's just a healthy relationship there. That typically doesn't happen until you're already at higher levels. Most people that start at the bottom, only a tiny percentage of these people actually make it off the ground. 95% of the people are in the masses and they are stuck in their normal average life. So you as the dude, if you're actually going to be leveling up that far, it's very, very common that majority of your initial friend groups are not going to be with you later on. They will talk shit behind your back, and that's okay. I don't hang out with those kids anymore. I still have them as friends or acquaintances. If I see them around, it's all love. You know, if I see them out when I go back to my hometown, it's all love. If they hit me up, I'll probably even pick up the phone. It's all love. However, I'm just not as closely intertwined into their lives or their opinions or the identity I had when I was around them. I had to have that separation to level up myself, which brings me into point number 2, which is you have an identity that's been created around that friend group, and at some point it's actually going to make more sense to separate from the friendship, because the identity that both of you guys had created is not going to allow you to grow into the dude you want to become while still having that identity intertwined. Like I said earlier, you guys come into a friendship or a relationship, there's identities here, and it's either going to grow together. It could be parallel, but most likely they're not going to grow at the same rate as you, so you need to have that separation in order to allow yourself to blossom. And honestly, which kind of ties into the final point, is like, it's also in their best interest too. Two people that just want to bring the other person down, unconsciously or not, that don't want to see the other person outdo them, and they don't really support and fully provide a lane for the other person to really grow, you're both kind of pulling each other down. It's like you're in a pool and you're trying to make the other person drown, versus like trying to help each other fucking climb up. By creating that separation, not only is it healthy for you and your own growth and your own lane to develop, but also if you genuinely want the other person to do good too, it's probably in their best interest that you actually separate for a little bit. And again, to tie this back into the first point, you don't need to burn a bridge. You don't need to say, hey dude, I don't want to be your friend anymore. It's not all or nothing. There are degrees of separation of how close of friends you can be. And don't make the mistake that I did when I was in my 20s of like, or even teenage years, of declaring we're best friends and it's all or nothing. And if we're not hanging out, you're hanging out with this other person, it's like a betrayal. It's not like that, dude. I am still cool with all of my friends that I grew up with, all the friends that I made along the way, and all the new friends that I make as well. I'm still cool with all of these people, but it's not all or nothing with any of them. And that allows us the separation for everybody to grow on their own path. That allows me to not have an identity tied into the friendship that we had, meaning I don't have to protect an ego if the other person does well or succeeds. I genuinely want the best for them. I have my own separation. I have my own identity that I can build up independently, and I can also support everybody and show love. And that's the dynamic that you really want long-term for you and the people that are going to be in your life as friends. All right? Those are the unspoken, harsh truths of friendship. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to work with me directly, links in the description. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.